Hello and welcome to Summon RPG. I'm Sovereign. Today we're back talking about Dune Awakening. I wanted to go over some of the information that was given in the most recent live stream to do with the building and crafting. We're going to be focusing on the building and crafting today. Now we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm not going to be doing it from like a script as I've been doing previously. I'm going to try and do it like off the cuff. So let me know down below if it's a lot better this way or if you prefer it in a more scripted format, so I make sure that I get all the information and don't go off into different directions. But make sure to let me know down in the comments which one you prefer as you're going through the video. And remember to like the video and subscribe if you do enjoy my content. If you find it useful, we'll be doing guides and all kinds of videos that come out once Dune Awakening releases. I'll be doing all kinds of videos, especially after the large beta test is coming up on May 20th. And then after the release on June 10th. So as I said earlier, we're going to be talking about the building and what the information that we got from the building in the latest live stream. I do have some issues that maybe might be an issue, might not be an issue because there hasn't been that much information giving on it. But over my thoughts of how certain things are being done can really sort of makes me wonder if it's going to be okay. But we'll go into that more later on. We'll go through all of the information. So Leo actually spoke a lot about the general building stuff and the comparisons they have with Conan Exiles and how a lot of the things have actually changed. The building piece is going to be larger. There's going to be larger structure pieces. Talking about how the repetition of building things, which as you guys know, who follow the channel for a long time, I am a massive builder. I love building in all survival games. It's one of my biggest things that I enjoy the most. But what they've talked about is actually having larger building pieces. Now, these larger building pieces are going to stop repetition of blocks to make it able to have more feel to it, more aesthetically pleasing buildings, etc. So you're not just having a massively flat wall on one side of the building without having to like stick a load of different pieces and try and mess around with the pieces, trying to get them to go into each other and stuff like that. There's a lot of work that has to be done to make bases in most survival games that I've played look really good, and it's a lot of overlapping and a lot of messing with parts. And they're hoping that with these larger pieces, having the ability to build larger bases with larger pieces will alleviate a lot of that stress and issues that you do have actually having to overlap things and stuff like that. They actually talked about while they were making Dune Awakening, the building system is going to sort of incorporate a lot of lessons learned from Conan Exiles. And Conan Exiles, in my opinion, is one of the best for building your bases, the way they look, all the different tile sets and all this kind of stuff. Now, we will talk about some of the tile sets up later because I do have a favorite aesthetic in Dune Awakening already, the one I like the most already, Harkonnen. Just love the way it looks. But we'll go into more detail on that later on. And he also talked about restrictions that are in Conan Exiles and how they're going to be lifting some of those restrictions. Now, this is one of the issues that is coming up just a little bit at the moment, at least for me, is they talked about not having as many restrictions as in Conan Exiles. When I feel that Conan Exiles didn't really have that many restrictions, you were quite free to build what you wanted, where you wanted at any moment. You could literally have it dangling from a cliff edge, building down and building down. There was a lot of freedom and creativity being able to be used while you were building in Conan Exiles. And I don't seem to remember there being a block limit on buildings. Maybe I'm just misremembering. Maybe I just don't remember that there was actually block limits. Let me know down below if there was actually block limits, but I don't think I ever reached them, at least. Or maybe because most of the stuff where I was building massive, I built on single player servers or with friends on a server that we used to buy at the private servers. So maybe that's the reason why there was no block limits. Maybe there was block limits on PvP servers and I just never built big enough to hit them. But what you can see as we have in the background over here is there are block limits on the server. Now I can see why there needs to be these limitations. We're in a persistent world, we're in an MMO, and there's going to be lots of people trying to build on the same map. Now I don't know how it's going to work. Is it going to be in shards, as they've talked about, where the bases are going to be on different shards, so you'll always be on your shard with your building, or because I don't know how that's going to work. Is the map big enough for the thousands and thousands of players that are going to be here building, or will there be layers, so there'll be different servers, let's say, on the different areas, so one guild can build in one area and a different guild can build from that same area on a different shard, on a different layer, on a different server, depending on how it's going to be working. Is there going to be a limit to the amount of players that can be on a server, like created on a server? Because they're going to run out of space eventually. The map cannot be big enough to house that many people on a single server, a single map. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to be doing that. Maybe I missed that little bit of nugget of information during one of the live streams, but I'm sure I didn't hear anything about the way that that's going to work. I'm sure that's going to be a big issue for some people out there. Now, I do like the idea of the sub-fief land claim system. I do like that, as in you can only build within a certain area. a certain block that you put down your sub thief console, and it will block off that area for only you to be able to build in while you have that structure powered. Now, you need to have that structure powered at all times for it to actually work. And if you're building outside of the shielded zone, which again, I don't know much about the shielded zone because I haven't been any of the beta tests, so I haven't played the game fully. This is just what I'm thinking as I'm hearing the information as it's coming in. Because the only information I'm really going for is what I'm being given right now by Funcom, because I mean, there's NDAs for all the other things, and anyone who's giving information out could be making things up and blah, blah, blah. And I don't really want to deal with any of that. So I'm only going off of information that Funcom have given out themselves. Now, these sub-thief consoles, they do control an area. Now, the sub-thief consoles are not going to be taxed. There's going to be no payments needed to be placing these sub-thief consoles down. However, to keep your base outside of the shield-walled area, where you're going to be getting attacked by storms, etc., etc. If you build out in the sand, you're going to get attacked by worms. It kind of alleviates some of the things of how you're going to just literally find random square-ass bases everywhere. But that's something I really want to touch on later on in more detail. But those areas can't be built in by other people. I suppose we can kind of segue off into this, into my main issue, the main issue that I have, the thing that I think will be the biggest issue within Dune Awakening itself as an MMO, a survival MMO with base building. Once human, when I played that game, I did not enjoy it whatsoever. There's only one reason that I did not enjoy it, one main reason I didn't enjoy it, and that was the fact that there were bases literally littered everywhere. There were half-built bases, there was cubes built everywhere, there was no aesthetically pleasing buildings as far as the eye could see. You could run into one every now and then that looked pretty cool, but as a general rule, it was just an endless sea of blocks and cubes. Now, this could be the biggest issue, in my opinion, for a game like Dune Awakening, where it is a persistent world, where it is an MMO, where there'll be a lot of people building, and not everyone has the creativity to be able to build these sprawling structures and have it all built in a very nice way. Now, this is why I think they put the blueprint system in the game itself first place, not just as something that can be able to be sold as a player market type thing, as something that's added. I think they've added the blueprint system in there for those more creatively minded gamers in the survival genre to be able to put those up there, and people who are not able to build in those ways or just haven't had enough practice in doing it, don't have enough time to build something that's really pretty, etc., etc., they'll be able to use those blueprints that are sold on the market and build their base, and it's still look pretty nice around the area. Now, the problem with the blueprints is that unless you're building in the exact place of where the blueprint was made, will it be able to be placed in that area? Say, for instance, that there's someone who's built on a pillar. You've built in these big pillars. I'll show some footage in the background of this where they've built on a big pillar. Now, that pillar isn't the same shape on every single pillar on the map. So if someone has built a blueprint for a giant base on pillars, etc., etc., they won't be able to place that same structure, or they will be able to. It just won't have the same pillar area, etc., that they have on where they originally built the base. So it's just going to have like bits that are sticking out in places they shouldn't be. There's going to be rock coming through in areas they shouldn't have. Unless you're building those blueprints and those bases on completely flat land, which I don't like to build on. I like to build up in the sky. I like to build on cliff edges. I like to build on mountain ranges. That's the kind of places that I like to build. I like overhanging structure. So, for instance, if I build an overhanging structure and I turn that into a blueprint to give to you guys, which I will be doing, obviously, because I'm a builder at heart. So I will be building stuff and I'll be putting blueprints out there. But you won't be able to place those structures unless you're on a cliff of a dimension exactly the same as the one that you are, or larger, but not smaller than the structure that I've already built, the place that I've already built that structure. So there's a little bit of a worry that the blueprints might not be able to. It depends on how they completely work. Now, I haven't played it, so I don't know. This is just me thinking out loud on how the blueprints are going to work. Unless it's all on flat ground, I don't see how it's really going to function fully for people who want to build in really weird locations and want to show off their structures. They want to show off and sell their blueprints. It doesn't feel like that could work. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe let me know down below that I'm completely wrong about that. Now, I'm not just going to sit through the whole video just talking smack about the certain things, how I have a little bit of worries about certain things that are in there. There are some things that I really do love. The fact that they have base management, where they have ability to allow players to work with you on the structures, and also have the cello projections that are actually able to be put up, so you can set up what you want to build. So you have one guy who's really creative in your guild and you want him to build your base, but you want to be able to help him. You want to collect the resources, you want to build the parts. He can put down the projections to build up from that, and you just can then deliver the pieces you need to do and build those pieces. So you can have the guy who's going to be creating the stuff, and then you have the guy that can be fetching the stuff, and the guy that can be just place it down. I really love that, and I really love the fact that you can give people access to your base. If you meet someone out where you're playing on there in the MMO setting and you want them to, you can have access to my crafting stations, then you can set it up to have them have access to your base to be able to use some stuff or drop some stuff off. Maybe you have a deal with someone and they can drop some stuff off and you trade one item for another and they give you access to a certain box. I don't know if it's going to be that specific to where you can only access certain boxes and stuff like that, but it does add an interesting dynamic to the way that the survival base building has been working. Ark did this as well when they did the permission settings on boxes and stuff, so you can let everyone in their alliance, guild, tribe. I don't know why I said guild, it is tribe. So it has been done before. I also like the fact that you can start off small. You start off with a smaller thief con, you get that set down, sub thief console, sorry, and you get that set down. And then as you progress and as you upgrade and get further, you can build bigger and better. And the actual cap for the amount of blocks that you can place increases as you get more. So if a person plays longer, plays harder, has a lot more time in the game, they're going to have way more block limits, and it stops people from putting down a massive thief area, a sub thief area, and that whole area is blocked from everyone. So you have like the entirety of the thing. So the fact that you have to work towards the upgrade is a really good thing. I think that's an amazing addition, and it's definitely something that was needed 100%. No, I also really love the aesthetics of the buildings. Now, I'm more personally, as I said earlier, towards the Harkonnen aesthetic. I think it really looks really good, and I like the darker stones, and I love the way that it looks in like the Chronicles of Riddick type of, I can't remember the name of it, necromancers. I think they were necromancers, where they had the faces on their ships and the mouths, big mouths that opened up, and the gateways that the Harkonnen have are absolutely amazing. It really gives me that Chronicles of Riddick vibe, which obviously they obviously took that from Dune. I mean, Dune's way older than the Chronicles of Riddick, but it does give me those vibes from a visual standpoint, because I hated the movies. I couldn't stand them. They were really bad. But I only had from the books my own imagination on how things would look, and I think they did a really good job with the Harkonnen. Now the Atreides, it does look good, but it's not my cup of tea. It's more like sandy colored, and you have the different tiers of buildings. So you have the lighter and then more orangey sand type buildings, but the Harkonnen really does it for me with all of the blues and the dark grays, and it just looks amazing, at least for me. Let me know down below if you're going to be a Atreides or Harkonnen. Like, I'm really interested to see what you guys think look the best out of those two. For me, it's just the Harkonnen. Another good thing I really like is the fact that you don't just build outwards, you build vertically as well. And your sub people, so when it upgrades, you can go vertically and horizontally. And I think that's a really good as well. I don't know if you can pick if you can go vertically or horizontal. I think it'd be really cool if you didn't need the amount of width horizontally, but you needed more height vertically. If you could upgrade the verticality rather than the horizontality and get higher, maybe that would be kind of cool. That would. But I don't think it's going to be that in depth. I'm just wishful thinking on that one there. There's also the stability of the buildings themselves. So you have to think about the stability. Now, from what the live stream actually said, was that you need to start off with the foundations, and then you have the walls that are going to be holding up those foundations. There's going to be other building blocks that you can put in there. For instance, there's seems to be a lot of, especially one of the buildings that was shown, that was created during the live stream. There are a lot of pillars holding up bits that overhang, and you had certain pieces from the Atreides, for instance, that have wings that come out. They called them wings as they were doing the live stream, with the sort of triangular buildings that come out of a cliff edge to a flat point, and you can build the ceilings. They had the ceilings on top of that, and they had walls actually built on top of those parts as well. So I guess that adds to the structure stability. Now, I don't know if you don't put any pillars down, if the whole structure is going to fall out of the sky. I'm not really sure that that has actually been fully said yet, but it's definitely cool to think that if you actually have to think about what you're placing down before you place down, that also is going to stop my biggest issue of having boxes everywhere and really randomly immersion breaking buildings that are just hanging off the top of a cliff edge 74 blocks out with no structural integrity at all. It kind of breaks my immersion. I might be being a little bit selfish, and I know I'm not the only one playing it. It's an MMO, but really, it's just something that really worries me. Just immersion breaking stuff as we're going through the seamless, persistent world with all the different kind of buildings that are there. It was even to the point where I read a PC Gamer thing. Yes, I know. Kill me now. Article saying about the creative director talking about how players should please clean up their old bases. Now, it's a really bad design choice to have to actually ask your players to do the cleaning up for you. Now, they have got systems in place. So outside the shield walled areas, like your shielded areas and stuff like that, there's Coriolis storms. Now, if you run out of energy, if you run out of power for those buildings, you run out of fuel, that will be destroyed over time. That's their way of cleaning up structures that are not powered. And that is one way that they're going to be able to deal with the fact that, and so if there's a massive guild that built a massive place and you love the way it looks over there, you can wait until maybe they just stop playing the game, or maybe they just haven't got enough time and they run out of fuel and their buildings start to degrade over time. That spot will open up and you'll be able to build there. You have to keep an eye on those areas as you're going around. So they will be able to fix those. So there won't be as much dotted buildings around there is a system in place that they have thought about to clean it up, but I'm sure there's going to be a starter area. There's going to be an area that hasn't got any storms that you'll be able to build in, where you're going to be learning how to build, etc., etc. If they don't have that section, then just call me a twat and move on. But that really is the biggest issue for me. The biggest issue with the build I'm worried about on a personal level. It's not going to be game breaking. It's not going to ruin the game for millions of people. It's just going to be slightly annoying for myself. That's all I'm saying. It's just one big problem for me personally. Now, there is some really cool things they've got as well. I'm going from good to bad, good to bad, good to bad. That's the way that it's supposed to be with that. We're not supposed to be just talking about the bad. We're not supposed to be just talking about the good. We have to talk about everything. Now, they have multi-tools where you'll be able to do most of your building stuff with a single tool, which is amazing. You can switch the build modes from build to piece picker, repair, move, and demolish, which will be right-clicking on your mouse and keyboard. That's really cool there. You have the piece picker, which is something that was in Ark, which I used to love. It was added by Structures Plus. I believe it was added by Structures Plus with the multi having, where you can actually scroll through the pieces that you put down and change things. I'm pretty sure it was Structure. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. But they have this in the game where you can pick pieces that have already been placed. You got a wall placed down there. Now you have several different kinds. You have loads of different skins unlocked for that wall. And you want to change those pieces, you don't have to delete your base pieces to actually change it up a little bit. Maybe you put down the wrong wall. But on the plus side, add a little addition there. You actually have the ability to demolish and 100% refund all of your resources you've used to place that down there. So that's going to be there. You get the full refund of that. So you don't have to worry too much, but you don't want to, say for instance, you put the wrong pillar down. You just realize, oh crap, I put the wrong. Now, if this is the stability that they were talking about, as I understood it, I guess there's a pillar. You got it in the middle of your base, holding up your entire roof and 7 sections above. Now you've placed down, you just realized, oh crap, halfway up the building, there's the wrong pillar. Now it's ruined the entire aesthetic of the base. You'll be able to go to that point and you can use the piece picker to change it to the correct one, which I think is a massive quality of life, massive quality of life feature. I love that. Another massive quality of life feature is the moving of placeables. You're placing down chests. One thing I hated more than anything in this bloody world, unless you use mods in Ark, in Soul Mask, in all the other games that we played, you have to remove everything out of a chest, put it in another chest, delete the chest, or move the chest only if it's empty. Now, within Dune Awakening, you can move chests, you can move crafting stations, you can move all of these things. You can move them to another area in the base without having to empty them. It saves what's in the box and then moves it to the location. That's massive quality of life. I love that. Amazing. But please be aware, you cannot move walls, foundations, that sort of thing. You can't move them to other areas. You can only change them. Another thing that I really love the look of, because I love building big. I love building like really nice, really aesthetically pleasing building. They have a lot of piece varieties, and something that no survival game has ever released straight away out of the gate is furniture pieces, aesthetic pieces. You've got picture frame, bookshelves, you've got sofas, you've got table, all of these things. You've got beds, you've got half, 3/4, you've got all the different kind of bits that are in there. Bits to design, just fill gaps so you can have more just so you can have larger construction options, way more than they would have had in Conan Exiles. I really think they've done a really good job, at least from what I can see in what they've shown. Now, this could be completely wrong. As I've said earlier, this is going off what I've been told by Funcom, what they've shown us in their live, shown us in, and what they've given us in AMAs, etc., etc. And another big thing, which actually Soul Mask had this. Soul Mask had this for anything where you could craft from storage. Crafting from storage is a massive thing. Again, I'm going to go back to Ark in this, because Ark is like basically there's older survival games than Ark, but Ark is basically the crux of what the survival gaming boom was caused by Ark, at least in my opinion. You can say Rust, you can say all those other things, but Ark is kind of what caused the boom of the survival genre. And you had to literally go in and pick what you needed, take it to the crafting station, put it in the crafting station, and you couldn't just stack everything inside of one crafting station at a limited amount of slots. So you're only able to place a certain amount in the third. But now you can actually craft from your base's inventory through the crafting tables. Through you can say, for instance, you're going to be using crafting some armor. You're going to craft some armor. You're going to be crafting some armor or a vehicle or anything. It's going to take the materials that you've got stacked in your base, so you don't have to go and find it, which also makes it kind of cool. If this was more PvP related or oriented, which kind of that it would be cool because you could like hide boxes in certain areas, like under foundations and stuff like that, and then people will get upset about it because I have to break through 17 foundations to try and find a box. But so far, as far as I can tell, there's no way for people to destroy other people's base. At least as far as I've been able to figure out so far from the information given, it's not something that's there. I could be wrong again with that. There could be some question in an AMA in a Reddit thread somewhere that I haven't seen, but I don't think, because at least I haven't seen any defenses being shown, anything like that. It's kind of like an MMO where the PvE is where you're going to have the Coriolis storms, you're going to have the different areas that you're going to be fighting, killing NPCs, etc., etc. But players can't destroy other players' base. Now that's kind of a survival building, base building like staple. It's something that's really important in most, like it allows for areas to be cleared, for areas to be taken over, and it kind of adds a really it adds a really good factor, at least for me, to be able to like worry about having your base attacked. But I can also see how this could be an issue in an MMO setting. Don't get me wrong, I can see that not everyone in the world has 12 hours a day to play all the time and be able to defend their base at all the time. I understand that. That again, that's a personal like of mine. I don't like attacking bases. I love defending. I love defending more than anything in this world. I love when people attack and you can actually think about your base defenses, etc. But we're not going to be talking about more of that. I mean, that's not about Dune Awakening. So we'll move on from that. Now, one thing we do know, especially about the aesthetics of things, you've got the Chone sets, you've got the Harkonnen sets, you've got the Atreides set. You've got these sets. Now, there are some palace sets and stuff like that. They're going to be coming with the deluxe edition, etc. You've got a lot of those things coming as well. But the thing with Conan Exiles is there was always coming out with new tile sets. There was always coming out with new aesthetic sets. Now, there's going to be a limit to what they can do, obviously, because it's within the Dune universe. And I'm sure there's going to be some sort of agreement in place that doesn't allow them to create new things and bring it into the Dune universe, because they are co-partnered with the Dune novel. I forgot what the company's name is, but it's Dune something or other, where they have the whole company that's basically surrounded by all the IP of owned by Dune. But we do know that as of Conan Exiles, they added a lot of tile sets. They added a lot of cool looking things. They added a lot of new mounts and stuff like that. So we're going to be looking not really at animal mounts. Maybe there will be, because there are animal mounts in the Dune universe. There are animals or something. So we know they're going to be adding a load of those things this time. Now, I've been talking a hell of a lot longer than I wanted to about this. I ended up going off in a different thing. This is the thing. This is the issue that I have when I'm creating a video and I don't use a script. I go off into tirades and rant. I go off into loads of different information. I jump all over the place. Let me know down below if you prefer this style of video, if you prefer the more scripted videos. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Let me know down in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to like the video. Are you worried about any of the systems in place with the building? Are you worried about anything within the Dune Awakening game itself? Is there any worries that you have? Like, for instance, blueprints being bought and then just being resold. How are they going to stop a blueprint from being resold back onto the player? That's going to be something that, because I wanted to ask the developers that one specifically. And I'm hoping a lot of these answers will be given in a large-scale beta when we get to test it out on May 20th. Make sure to go and sign up on Request Access on Steam, or you can go over to the main website and request access for the beta on the main website as well. That's all we have today. I want to thank you for watching. Remember to like and sub for your survival gaming goodness, fly safe, and avoid local chat scams.